In the past, when I'd had problems or questions about my cats, a simple post to this page was usually worth its weight in gold. I had always been quite overwhelmed with all the help and advice that poured in. The members of the Bob page seemed very supportive of all things cat-related, and so reply posts were always plentiful. I didn't have to wait long. Within minutes, my post was being commented upon, varying from one end of the spectrum with, "It happens a lot, you can't do anything about it," to the other with, "Bring the kitten home with you." There were all manner of different suggestions in between, and although kindly meant, some were just impracticable. However, there were a few people who suggested that I should set up a GoFundMe page, and that way I might be able to raise enough money through donations to pay for the costs in getting the kitten home to the UK. It was certainly an idea, but I had literally no idea to set up such a fund myself. I was aware that these new forms of crowdfunding schemes were popular and proving very successful. But would complete strangers really contribute to someone they didn't know just to bring a stray kitten back to the UK? I started to see a glimmer of hope. I had underestimated the power of the poor. The more people that agreed a GoFundMe page might be the best solution, the more I thought, what have I got to lose? My only difficulty, and a significantly huge difficulty, was my not knowing how to. To make matters worse, the internet access at the hotel was scant enough most of the time. Steam-driven broadband might have been faster. And even if I did have the know-how, I might not have the necessary and reliable source of power. However, I was feeling quite charged now, and I could feel a quickening of my pulse as more and more comments poured in to say that we could do it. The sheer enthusiasm that members were filling me with was a terrific boost to my morale and confidence. If only I knew how to achieve what I was being urged to do. One member, a lady called Sonia, commented that she was willing to offer the kitten a home herself in Jersey. She said that she had been really upset when she saw the photos of the kitten and reading all about him living under a drain. She was quite serious about giving him a home, but I didn't have a clue how to go about it. Obviously, we'd have to raise some funds to get the kitten transported to the UK, but just how? And all these inquiries, backwards and forwards, drew the attention of another member, in a lady called Lisa. She very kindly offered to set up a GoFundMe page for the kitten on my behalf, from her home back in the UK. Reading all these posts was making me feel quite breathless at the rate of all this help coming in. All of a sudden, this rescue mission was happening at warp speed. It was an incredible feeling. The optimism, the hope, and, above all, just the sheer love that was pouring in from all four corners of the world was just incredible. I felt physically lifted by it all. These wonderfully kind and caring people, all strangers to each other, who all wanted to pull together and try and save this little kitten. Louisa had already advised me that what with vet checks, passports, and other necessary travel arrangements that would have to be put in place, it could cost up to £1,000 to get a kitten back to the UK. Could we possibly raise that sort of money in such a short space of time, I wondered? And then, smack bang in the middle of this crucial and cliff-hanging point, my phone started to shut itself down as I realised with horror that it was running out of battery power. How frustrating! I let out an audible groan and out loud said, "Don't you dare!" But it was too late. All of a sudden, I was staring at a blank screen. I looked at my watch. It was 9 p.m, and as if right on a stage cue, Misty suddenly entered. stage right, on the balcony. She was a welcome distraction to this feeling of annoyance and dismay at having to give up my phone to the charger for a few hours. I greeted her with a whispered, "Hello, sweetheart," and withdrew quietly back inside to get her supper ready. The room was stiflingly hot, and so I left the patio doors open wider than usual. Maybe subconsciously, I was testing Misty to see if she would follow me back inside. And how lovely it might have been if she jumped up on one of the beds and settled herself there for the night. Even more lovely if we were to find her still there when we awoke. No chance of that happening, I realised, as I went back outside to find Misty sticking resolutely to her side of the balcony. I put her food dish down for her and did the familiar, almost choreographed withdrawing backwards to my chair and watched her tuck into tonight's feast. It didn't take her long to finish up every scrap and lick the bowl clean. The usual routine of washing herself from head to tail then followed, unchanged from all previous nights, and I sat on. I felt so tired now. Such a lot had been accomplished today, and in such a short time too. Waking up this morning from that dreadful nightmare seemed like days ago, not mere hours. I let my mind meander. How strange it was that some days you seem to be able to fit in about 3 or 4 days' worth of some sort of work, of achievements, and yet on other days we accomplish nothing, or nothing noteworthy, that is. I was also just dying to tell Lucy the news that help might at last be at hand. I looked over to where she lay, a tendril of sun-bleached and almost hennaed hair just visible above the sheets, but she was fast asleep still. I hoped that she was having beautiful dreams, and although I wanted desperately to wake her up so she could share in the exhilaration that I felt, I thought it best to let her wake up naturally. After all, the news could keep just for a little while longer. She'd know soon enough. Misty had long gone by the time I'd come out of my contemplative mood. She had ventured back out into her secret world of the night, a world that I knew nothing about and was perhaps never likely to. I got up from the chair and took one last look at the bushy undergrowth that Misty always disappeared into. And mouthing a silent good night to her, I turned in, plugging my phone into its charger immediately before doing anything else. It was only 9:30 at night, but what with the prospect of an early start in the morning, I thankfully got under the covers. I still lay awake for a while, though, thinking about tomorrow's boat trip to Albania that we were booked on. And then I went over the day's events all over again. My brain was acting like a video player that would insist on rewinding and fast-forwarding to everything that had happened. The excitement, luckily, was taken over by a tiredness that engulfed me at last. It settled my heart rate and relaxed me in a way that I had not felt relaxed for a long time, it seemed.